The moment you need nothing from them is the moment they want everything from you. Funny how that works, right? People start paying attention when you stop asking for it. They start valuing your presence the second you stop offering it for free. That's not just psychology, my friends. That's power. And in the world of Stoicism, that's where your freedom begins. Hey folks, picture this. You're holding sand in your hand. You grip it tightly, desperate not to lose it. But the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. And then, when you finally loosen your grip and open your hand, it settles. That's what detachment feels like. That's how attraction works. The more you cling, the more you lose. But the second you let go, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, everything starts to come back to you in ways you didn't expect. We've been fed this lie since day one, that the more you try, the more you give, the harder you work to prove your worth, the more someone will want you. But let me tell you something real. The opposite is true. People become more attracted the moment you detach, not because you're playing games or pretending not to care, but because they can feel something different in you. Peace, presence, power. You're no longer the person constantly needing attention or begging for validation. And when you no longer need their approval, something shifts in the air. They start noticing you, watching you, wondering what changed. You know why? Because people are addicted to being chased. When you stop chasing, you break the pattern. You interrupt their control. And suddenly, you're not just another option. They start fearing the idea of losing you. That's what happens when you stop giving your energy away freely. Your silence becomes louder than any words. Your absence becomes a presence. And they start to feel it, deeply. Not just mentally, but emotionally. There's a quote I love. What you chase runs. What you attract stays. Detachment turns you into a magnet, not by forcing anything, but by standing still in your own value. You stop being the one who needs constant reassurance, and you start becoming the one who chooses, who observes, who moves with clarity. You become the calm in the chaos, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't beg to be kept. That's not cold, that's powerful. And let's not confuse detachment with apathy. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself not to cling to things that aren't choosing you. It means you've mastered the art of walking away without a word. You've stopped needing to be chosen to feel valuable. That's Stoicism. That's real emotional control. That's what makes you magnetic. Because when you stop needing anything outside of you to complete you, people start feeling the strength of who you are inside. You become like fire in the distance, bright, beautiful, untouchable. They feel the warmth, but they're afraid of the burn. Because now, you're not easy to figure out. You're not predictable. You're not the same person they once had control over. And that mystery, that silence, that emotional discipline, that's what draws them in, every single time. So remember this, my friends, the moment you detach is the moment everything starts to align. You don't lose them by letting go, you find yourself. Now go to the comments and write this down. I attract, I don't chase. Say it out loud, claim it, feel it. And if this message hit you somewhere deep, go ahead, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me. We're just getting started. 1. Detachment isn't rejection, it's redirection of power. The strongest move you'll ever make is walking away without saying a word. That's silence. That's not weakness. That's not bitterness. That's raw, unshakable power. The kind that doesn't scream, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. It just moves. And the whole room feels it. Imagine you're holding a balloon, and you're terrified of it floating away, so you grip the string tight, pull it closer, afraid it'll drift off if you even loosen your hold. But here's the truth. The tighter you pull, the more you suffocate the freedom that made it float in the first place. And eventually, it pops, just like that. That's what happens when you try to hold people too tightly. When you're afraid of losing someone, you smother the very thing that made them attracted to you in the beginning. Your lightness, your calm, your confidence. Now I know what you might be thinking. But if I let go, won't I lose them? Won't they forget me? Won't they move on? And I get it. That fear is loud. That voice in your head starts spinning stories. If I stop trying, if I stop texting, if I stop being there, they'll replace me. But my friend, what you're really afraid of isn't losing them. You're afraid of losing the version of yourself that depended on their attention to feel enough. Let me break the lie. Detachment does not mean rejection. It does not mean giving up. It means you're no longer willing to hand over your peace just to keep someone entertained. It means you're done investing in people who aren't investing back. You're not slamming the door out of anger. You're quietly closing it out of clarity. You're not punishing them. You're protecting your energy. People think if you care, you should cling. But let me tell you something they won't teach you in school. Real love never demands your dignity. If you have to abandon yourself to keep someone interested, that's not connection. That's self-betrayal dressed as loyalty. This is why detachment feels like a war at first, because you're not just pulling away from them, you're pulling away from the old you, the version of you who begged for breadcrumbs, who lowered your standards to avoid being alone, who confused effort with worthiness. But detachment is when you finally say, I know who I am now. I don't need to chase what doesn't choose me. And yes, it'll hurt. Yes, it'll feel lonely at first. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're being too cold, too distant, too different. But then something happens. The fog clears. You breathe deeper. You sleep better. You start to feel your own energy returning to you. Because for the first time, you're not leaking it into someone who didn't know what to do with it in the first place. There's a quote that hits hard here. Your absence will teach them what your presence never could. Let that sink in. When you detach, when you stop showing up the way they expect, when you stop giving your energy on demand, you disrupt their comfort. And they will notice. Maybe not immediately, maybe not publicly, but they'll feel it, in the silence, in the space, in the shift. You rise from fear when you realize that your worth isn't based on someone else's response. You become dangerous, in the best way, when you no longer fear being misunderstood, ignored, or replaced. You finally understand that if someone has to lose you to realize your value, they were never ready to hold you in the first place. So no, detachment is not rejection, it's redirection. Redirection of your time, your peace, your purpose. You're not turning your back on love, you're turning your face back toward yourself. And when you do that, the whole world sees you differently. You start walking with a different kind of gravity, the kind that doesn't chase, but attracts, the kind that doesn't beg, but commands, the kind that doesn't explain, but simply is. Now write this in the comments. I protect my peace. Say it to yourself. Whisper it, shout it, show it in how you move, how you speak, how you respond to silence. Let the world feel the new version of you. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Because in the next part, we're going even deeper into the power of silence and why it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. So stay with me. 2. The less you react, the more powerful you become. Control your reaction and you control the outcome. That's a rule of life most people never learn, and that's exactly why they keep getting played, poked, and pulled in every direction like a puppet on strings. But not you. Not anymore. Because once you understand this, once it clicks, you'll realize that silence is louder than rage, and calm is more intimidating than chaos. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror and someone starts throwing insults at your reflection. They yell, they push, they try to provoke it. But no matter how loud they get, the reflection doesn't flinch. It doesn't yell back. It doesn't try to prove anything. It just stays still. That's your power when you master your reaction. That's what makes people stop in their tracks. Because they're used to drama. They're used to people exploding, defending, begging, or folding. But when you do none of that, you shake their world. Now I know what you're thinking. But what if I don't say anything? Won't they think I'm weak? What if I let them get away with it? That's fear talking, my friend. That's the lie you were taught. You've been conditioned to think that reacting is strength, that the louder you yell, the more you're heard, that the quicker you respond, the smarter you look. But Stoicism flips that idea on its head. It teaches you that stillness is strength, that self-control is the ultimate flex, and most of all, that your peace is not up for negotiation. You see, reacting is easy. Anyone can lose their cool. Anyone can argue back. That's not power. That's emotional slavery. That's handing over the keys to your kingdom just because someone knocked on the gate. But when you stay grounded, when you choose not to react, when you keep your emotions in check, even when someone's trying to drag you into the mud, that's when you rise above it. That's when you become untouchable. Because let's be real, most people aren't looking for peace. They're looking for control. And the moment you react, they win. You've given them what they wanted, your attention, your emotion, your time. You've stepped into their frame. But the moment you don't respond, the moment you pause, the moment you choose your silence over their noise, you take back all the power they thought they had. And here's the beautiful part. People notice, whether they admit it or not. They notice that you don't flinch, that you don't get rattled, that you don't respond just to defend your ego. That scares people more than anger ever could. Because now you're not operating on impulse, you're moving with intention. You've stopped being predictable. You've stopped being easy to manipulate. You've become a mystery. There's a quote I keep close to my heart. Never let your emotions overpower your intelligence. Think about that. How many mistakes have been made? How many relationships ruined? How many things said that can't be unsaid? All because someone couldn't control a 10-second emotional surge. Don't let that be you. Don't let temporary emotions cause permanent damage. Instead, become the person who knows how to pause, who knows how to breathe before speaking, who doesn't jump to prove, explain, or defend, who understands that not everything needs a reaction and not everyone deserves one. Is it easy? Number. Especially when your pride is involved, when your heart is on the line, when someone disrespects you, betrays you, tries to pull you down. That fire inside you wants to respond, to fight, to be heard. But that's the test. That's where strength is built. In the pause, in the breath, in the choice to stay calm when everything in you wants to erupt. And let me tell you something, the ones who can master that, they become dangerous. Because now, you're not controlled by your emotions. You control them. You're not pulled into other people's storms. You stay rooted in your own calm. And that calm, that quiet, it becomes your loudest voice. So here's what I want you to do. Type this in the comments right now. My calm is my power. Say it like you mean it. Let it echo through your mind the next time someone tries to test you. Let it be the shield that protects your peace, the armor that guards your dignity. Because you're not here to play emotional games anymore. You're here to rise, to evolve, to master yourself. And trust me, the journey has just begun. Because next, we're going deeper into something most people never understand. How clarity makes you calm, and why a man who's calm becomes impossible to forget. So stay with me. 3. Clarity makes you calm, and calm men are rare. A man who is clear about who he is cannot be shaken by who he is not. That kind of man, rare, focused, calm, moves through the world differently. He doesn't chase validation, he doesn't fear rejection, and he doesn't crumble when things don't go his way. Why? Because clarity has replaced confusion, and with clarity comes peace. Let me tell you something most people will never admit. Chaos is addictive. Confusion becomes a comfort zone. You get so used to overthinking, doubting, second-guessing yourself that when peace finally shows up, it feels boring. It feels unfamiliar. You start questioning it. Why is she pulling away? What did I do wrong? Should I text again? Should I try harder? That voice in your head, the one that whispers panic, it thrives in the absence of clarity. It keeps you chasing shadows. But the moment you become clear about who you are, what you want, what you're not willing to tolerate, those voices start to fade. Imagine you're walking through fog. You can't see the path, so every sound, every step feels like a threat. That's how most people move through relationships, guessing, reacting, clinging to anything that looks like certainty. But the man who walks with clarity, he doesn't need to see everything to move forward. He knows himself. He trusts his direction. And that trust, that's what makes him calm. He's not calm because life is easy. He's calm because his mind is clean. My friends, calm isn't weakness. Calm isn't passivity. Calm is control. Calm is when your inner world is so stable, so locked in, that no storm outside can shake it. And let me tell you something real. In a world full of noise, a calm man stands out like thunder in a whisper. He doesn't have to be loud. His energy does the talking. His presence shifts the room. Because calmness is rare, and what's rare becomes valuable. But let's talk about why clarity is so hard to find. The truth is, most people don't spend enough time with themselves. They're too busy trying to be what others want, trying to be accepted, trying to keep someone from leaving. They lose themselves while trying to keep someone else. And that's where the anxiety begins, when you start betraying who you are just to be liked. That's the root of all that noise in your head. Clarity comes when you stop lying to yourself, when you stop pretending that something feels right when it doesn't, when you stop ignoring red flags because you're afraid of being alone, when you start asking, what do I really want? Not what looks good, not what keeps the peace, not what fills the silence, but what truly aligns with your soul. That's when the confusion fades. That's when calm becomes your baseline. And here's the twist. When you become calm, people around you either rise with you or fall away. And that's okay. Let them. Because a calm man doesn't chase people. He doesn't need to. His energy attracts what matches him. He doesn't need chaos to feel alive. He's not addicted to being needed. He's addicted to peace. He's addicted to purpose. He's addicted to becoming the man he's supposed to be. There's a quote by Epictetus that hits perfectly here. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. You want peace? Stop trying to control what you can't. You want calm? Get clear on what you stand for, what you will and won't allow, what you expect from yourself. That's where your power is. Not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. And once you've tasted that clarity, you'll never go back. You'll see how peaceful your mind becomes when you stop chasing people who don't align with your standards. You'll feel how light your soul is when you stop explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. That's the kind of clarity that makes you move slower, speak softer, and think deeper. Not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown the noise. So write this in the comments right now. Clarity is my power. Let the world see it. Let you see it. Put it where your old doubts used to live. Because once you choose clarity over confusion, calm becomes your default setting. And the world? It starts to wonder how you became so unfazed, so unmoved, so rare. And guess what? In the next part, we're going even further into how mystery is built, not by what you show, but by what you withhold. So stay with me. It's about to get even more powerful. 4. Detachment makes you a mystery, and mystery fuels desire. The less they know about you, the more they wonder. And the more they wonder, the more they feel. That's the game most never learn how to play. Because the world teaches you to overshare, to over-explain, to always be available, always be open. But what no one tells you is this: when you become a little unknown, a little unreadable, a little unpredictable, you become unforgettable. Let me give you an image. Think of a book that's sealed, no title, no cover, no hint about what's inside. People stare, they wonder, they feel pulled toward it, not because of what it gives away, but because of what it hides. That's you when you master the art of detachment. You stop being an open book. You stop laying yourself out like a buffet. And suddenly, people start leaning in, trying to read you, trying to understand you. And the beautiful part? You don't give them everything. You give them just enough. Now I know what the fear sounds like. But if I don't keep the conversation going, won't they lose interest? If I don't respond quickly, won't they think I don't care? If I don't explain myself, won't they misunderstand me? And that fear, my friend, is exactly what's been draining your power. You've been taught that the way to keep someone is to make yourself easy to reach, easy to read, easy to get. But mystery? Mystery is what triggers the chase. Curiosity is the seed of attraction, and detachment is what makes you hard to forget. You don't have to be rude, you don't have to ghost people or play games, but you do need to stop being afraid of space, stop being afraid of silence. Let the other person wonder, let them feel your absence. Because here's what most won't tell you: constant availability kills curiosity. And when there's no curiosity, there's no spark. Think about it. When you're always the one texting first, always explaining your every move, always posting every detail of your life, where's the mystery? Where's the pull? Where's the space for their imagination to work? You're giving them the whole story before they've even earned a chapter. But when you take a step back, not to punish, but to preserve, your energy becomes rare, and what's rare becomes valuable. There's a quote I love: "Never allow someone to become too comfortable with your absence of boundaries. Your time, your energy, your presence, they're valuable. But when you're always available, always accessible, always explaining, you become expected. And once you become expected, you stop being exciting." Detachment isn't about manipulation. It's about alignment. It's about realizing that the right people will be drawn to your energy without you needing to overperform. You don't have to prove yourself to be wanted. You just have to be yourself, fully, confidently, quietly. And let the silence speak for you. Mystery isn't about being fake. It's about being selective. It's about knowing that not everyone gets access to your thoughts, your feelings, your time. You don't need to explain your every move. You don't need to respond instantly. You don't need to tell them where you're going or who you're with. Your life is yours. And when you protect that, you become magnetic. And here's the twist. When someone has to wonder about you, they invest more in you. They think about you more. They imagine. They obsess. Not because you're playing games, but because you've created space for them to show up. And when they do, you're no longer the one doing all the work. That's when it flips. That's when they start reaching out more, planning more, investing more. Because now they're not just interested, they're intrigued. So if you've been giving too much, if you've been trying too hard, if you've been showing up first every time, it's time to pause, pull back, let them feel what it's like when your energy isn't free. Not because you're angry, but because you finally respect yourself enough to not give it all away. Type this in the comments right now. My mystery is my magnet. Say it. Own it. Let them feel it in the silence between your texts, in the pauses between your responses, in the gaps where you used to over-explain. You don't owe anyone full access. You owe yourself peace, privacy, and presence. And trust me, we're just getting started. Because next, we're going to talk about what happens when you stop needing and start choosing. That shift right there, it changes everything. Stay with me. 5. You stop needing and start choosing. When you stop needing them, you start seeing them clearly. That's the shift. That's when everything changes. Because as long as you're operating from need, you're blind. You ignore the red flags. You tolerate the bare minimum. You settle for being tolerated instead of being chosen. But the moment you stop needing, you gain your sight. And with sight comes power. Let's paint a picture. Imagine you're thirsty, like wandering in the desert kind of thirsty, and someone hands you a cup of dirty water. Do you drink it? Most would say no, but when you're desperate enough, you convince yourself it's good enough. You'll tell yourself it's not that bad, just to satisfy that thirst. That's what most people do in relationships. They're not drinking love, they're drinking attachment, dressed as connection. They're not choosing from clarity, they're choosing from desperation. Need is dangerous, because need makes you blind, need makes you weak, need convinces you that you have no other option. And here's the hard truth. When someone can feel that you need them to be okay, they stop respecting you. They may not say it, but they feel it. People can sense when your emotional survival is in their hands. And that kind of energy, it repels, it chokes, it pushes them away. But when you detach from that need, when you stop begging for their attention, their time, their validation, something powerful happens. You start choosing. You're no longer trying to win them over. You're evaluating. You're watching how they treat you. You're asking yourself, does this energy match mine? Does this person deserve access to me? And that is when you shift from needy to powerful. That's when they feel the difference. That's when you become the one in control. People always talk about being the prize, but you can't be the prize if you're chasing. You can't be the prize if you're addicted to being chosen. You become the prize the moment you realize you don't need to be chosen to know your worth. When you finally understand that being alone doesn't mean you're unworthy, it means you're unavailable to nonsense. That's the level we're talking about. And I get it. The idea of walking away, of not needing them, it's scary. It means facing the silence. It means sitting with yourself. It means rewriting the story in your head that said, I need someone else to make me feel enough. But let me tell you something. Once you break that story, you become unstoppable. You start to feel something rare, emotional freedom. You're no longer a puppet on the strings of someone else's attention. You're grounded. You're centered. You're whole. There's a quote I want you to remember. When you learn to love your own company, you stop entertaining anyone who can't match your peace. That's the gold right there. Because once you've built a life you love, a mindset that's clear, a routine that's disciplined, a purpose that's yours, anyone who enters your life better add to it. Otherwise, there's the door. You stop asking, will they like me? And start asking, do I even like them? You stop bending to fit into their world, and you build one they have to rise to reach. That shift? That's when the tables turn. That's when they feel your absence more than they ever valued your presence. Because you've changed the game. You're no longer playing to be picked. You're picking, and you're picky, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. And let's be real, when someone senses that you're not afraid to walk away, when they realize you don't need them, that's when they start chasing. Not because you manipulated them, but because your energy shifted. You're not desperate. You're disciplined. You're not seeking validation. You're seeking alignment. So write this in the comments right now. I choose, I don't chase. That's your affirmation. That's your reminder. Say it out loud. Say it when you feel the old need creeping in. Say it when you're tempted to prove your worth to someone who can't even see it. Because you don't need to be chosen to be valuable. You already are. And once you realize that, they will too. And guess what? The next shift is even deeper. We're going to talk about how to break their control without ever raising your voice, without ever explaining yourself, and without ever saying a word. Stay with me. It's about to get colder and stronger. 6. You break their control without saying a word. The most powerful move you'll ever make is silence in the face of disrespect. Not yelling, not begging, not explaining, just silence, just stillness, just walking away with your dignity intact. That's the kind of move that echoes in someone's mind long after you've left the room. That's the kind of power that doesn't need to prove anything, because it already knows its worth. Let me break it down for you. Control doesn't always look like someone yelling at you or putting you down. Sometimes control wears a softer mask. It looks like emotional games, hot and cold energy, breadcrumbs of attention, silence used as punishment. And without realizing it, you start adjusting, you start chasing, you start trying to fix something you didn't even break. You think, Maybe if I try harder, they'll come around. Maybe if I explain more, they'll understand. Maybe if I hold on tighter, they'll stop pulling away. But my friends, let me tell you something loud and clear. You do not win by chasing. You win by not playing their game at all. The moment you stop responding to their manipulation, the moment you stop explaining yourself to someone who's already made up their mind, the moment you stop reacting to every little pull of their emotional strings, you take back the power they thought they had over you. And the beauty of it, you don't have to say a single word. Your silence speaks for you. It says, I'm not available for this anymore. I'm not here to be controlled. I see the game, and I'm not interested. It's like this. Imagine someone trying to push a boulder down a hill, expecting it to roll, but instead, it doesn't move. It just sits there, unbothered, heavy, solid. That's what you become when you don't react. You stop being predictable. You stop being easy to manipulate. And the one trying to push, they start to panic. Because now, they've lost control. Now I know what you're thinking. But won't they think I don't care? Won't I look weak for walking away? What if I lose them for good? That's fear talking. That's the part of you still hooked on the illusion that your worth depends on their approval. But deep down, you know better. You've just been too afraid to let go, because control feels like comfort until it doesn't. Here's the truth. If someone only treats you right when you're breaking yourself to keep them, that's not love. That's control. And you don't heal by staying quiet and taking it. You heal by going quiet and walking away from it. You show them through your silence that they don't own you, that their behavior doesn't dictate your self-worth, that their absence is no longer something you fear. It's something you're willing to choose. There's a quote that hits home here. If someone can control your reaction, they control you. But if they can't get to you, they lose all their power. And when you internalize that, when you stop dancing to their emotional rhythms, you become dangerous. Because you're not reactive, you're not desperate, you're not emotionally available to chaos anymore. They'll feel it. Trust me, they always do. When they send a cold message and get no reply, when they go silent and you don't chase, when they try to test your limits and you just don't move. That silence, that distance, that refusal to participate, it rattles them, because now they don't know where they stand with you. And that unknown, that mystery, that calm, it makes them lose the grip they once had. So don't waste your breath trying to teach someone how to treat you. Show them through your distance. Show them through your absence. Show them through your silence. Because that silence, that's your boundary. That's your self-respect. That's your strength. Write this in the comments right now. My silence speaks for me. Say it like you mean it. Let it be your reminder when the old version of you wants to react, wants to explain, wants to chase. Because the new you doesn't move like that anymore. The new you is focused, grounded, unavailable to nonsense. And we're not done yet. The next part is about why emotionally grounded men are the rarest and most magnetic people on this planet, and how you can become one. So stay with me. You're stepping into your power, one calm moment at a time. 7. Emotionally grounded men are irresistible. A man who masters his emotions masters the room. He doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need to argue. He doesn't need to flex, threaten, or prove. His presence says everything. His calm becomes his currency. His stillness becomes his signature. And people, especially women, Feel it before he even opens his mouth. Let me show you what I mean. Picture a lighthouse in the middle of a violent storm. Waves crashing, wind howling, everything around it shaking. But the lighthouse doesn't move. It stands tall, steady, unbothered. That's what an emotionally grounded man is, in a world full of chaos, noise, and emotional outbursts. He doesn't panic when things don't go his way. He doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't lose himself when someone pulls away. He stays rooted. And that right there, that emotional gravity, is rare. And rare is irresistible. Now let's get honest. You weren't always like this. None of us were. You probably grew up thinking that being emotional meant being real, that blowing up, overthinking, texting 5 times in a row, needing constant reassurance, meant you were invested. That's the lie most people believe. Because emotions feel real, they think reacting to them is the honest thing to do. But the truth? Reacting to every emotion isn't real. It's reckless. Because in that moment you're not in control. Your emotions are. The grounded man doesn't suppress his emotions. He studies them. He doesn't explode. He observes. He doesn't deny how he feels, but he refuses to let feelings run his life. That's Stoicism. That's control. That's power. He sees the storm inside and still chooses peace. And let me tell you, when a woman meets a man like that, she notices instantly. She might not be able to explain it, but she feels it, because she's used to men who get rattled, who break under pressure, who lash out when things don't go their way. But when she meets a man who stays calm, even when she's not, who listens without losing control, who doesn't rise to every emotional bait, something changes. She leans in. She softens. She respects him. Why? Because she feels safe. People think women want the loudest guy in the room, the one who talks the most, shows off the most, tries the hardest. But real attraction, it's energetic, it's emotional, and nothing creates more attraction than a man who is emotionally solid, a man who is unshakable. But here's the catch. Becoming emotionally grounded isn't about pretending to be calm. It's about doing the work. It's about building that calm from the inside out, sitting with your pain, facing your past, healing your wounds, understanding your triggers. Most men avoid that. They numb it, deny it, or cover it up with distractions. But not you, because you've come too far to keep living on emotional autopilot. There's a quote I want you to remember. He who angers you controls you. So the next time someone tries to push your buttons, remember this. If they can pull you out of character, they still own part of you. But if you can look them in the eyes, breathe, and respond with clarity, not heat, you win. Not just the moment. You win yourself back. And here's the beauty of it all. When you become emotionally grounded, everything in your life begins to shift. You stop reacting to disrespect. You start setting standards. You stop begging for love. You start attracting it naturally. You stop being drained by people who bring drama. You start becoming a magnet for people who bring peace. It's not about becoming cold. It's about becoming controlled. Not robotic. Not emotionless. Just rooted. A storm can rage inside you, but no one will know unless you tell them. That's strength. That's masculinity. That's power in its purest form. So write this in the comments right now. I am grounded, not reactive. Let that be your reminder, your declaration, your foundation. Say it when you're about to respond out of emotion. Say it when someone tries to pull you into chaos. Say it when your peace feels threatened. Because you're not that guy anymore. You've evolved. You've leveled up. In conclusion, detachment isn't about walking away from others. It's about walking back to yourself. When you stop chasing and start choosing, everything shifts. Protect your peace, value your presence, and become the calm they can't ignore. If this spoke to you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it.